Alright, come on in. Let's get a tour of the game room. So, first thing you'll notice, setting the tone right. No cell phones beyond this point. Obviously an exception for filming the video, but yeah, trying to set the vibe, 90s, early 2000s. You probably wouldn't be having a phone in your room, so just kind of setting the tone accordingly. And come on in, you'll notice got stickers, decals all over the wall. Really trying to set the tone for the time period and not just have everything video game themed, right? Like a lot of game rooms kind of look like video game stores, and that's really not what I was going for. I was really going for more of that, like, just ideal room you would have had when you were a kid. So, come on in, you'll notice, kind of got these classic color scheme. I actually went and got the hex codes off of one of those cups that you see, like the 90s stereotypical colors, and got those paints made at Lowe's. So you'll see kind of have a different color on each wall to give it just that retro aesthetic. And several posters from a lot of my favorite things from the time. So, you got Pokemon 151, Nintendo 64 poster, my favorite band's AC/DC, and kind of, funnily enough, this cuts off at 1995, so this would be like period correct AC/DC poster. And always loved Dragon Ball Z, favorite anime. I know that's stereotypical, but whatever. So now we'll kind of get into the crux of it. Let me just turn this down. So the first thing I want to point to is my game shelf. So one thing that was difficult is I got every single game I own on these shelves. With a lot of shelving, these shelves actually bow if you stack them to the brim, and you have to get way extra shelving. So that can be kind of annoying. So I saw a DVD store that was going out of business, and I picked up the shelf from there. So you kind of have almost like that Blockbuster vibe or that old game store vibe. So I think it goes really well with the room, and as you'll notice, the shelves are all metal, so nothing goes. And I have most of these games I bought, in the era that they were relevant. I've been collecting games, my whole life. So I got SNES, PS2, Xbox, Gamecube, Wii, PS3, N64, a bunch of Sega CD, Dreamcast games, just kind of everything that I personally curated. Most of these games are games that I actually wanted, not just games that had a lot of value. So we'll go over here to the heart of the setup, more of the retro area. So the granddaddy over here, this is a Sony KV27 FV310. Any of y'all that are into the CRT scene you probably know this as a holy grail. I have all of my consoles running through RGB SCART. So any console that didn't output RGB natively, like the N64 or the NES, those are modified. And then I have this distribution amp here for my newer consoles that are through component. They go through here. Have a component switch box over here as well. This old receiver, this handles the audio. I picked this one out because it can handle Laserdisc AC3 RF. So one day I'll get around to setting up Laserdisc surround sound, and this will be able to do that. Those are getting harder and harder to find. Another thing you'll notice, these speaker towers, these are Polk speakers. One thing that can be a little bit difficult with CRTs is needing magnetic shielding in the speakers to prevent issues with purity in the screen. So Polk speakers, I've noticed, always come with magnetic shielding, so that is not an issue. Obviously, you see two CRTs here, no issues at all. The other screen we got here is a HP P1130. This is a rebadge of the Sony G520. This can do extremely high resolutions and refresh rates. And the cool thing is it has 2 VGA inputs. So right now I got it hooked up to my Windows XP PC. I got the specs over here. But if I want to play my consoles on it, I can switch it up. And everything is going, everything that can go to the 310 also goes to the G520. So what this is really neat for is even component consoles like Xbox, PS2, Dreamcast can get 480p output on here, or even 720p or 1080i for games like Soul Calibur 2 or Gran Turismo 4. This will handle all those HD resolutions. It'll handle 240p as well with that Retrotink 5X setup. As you can see, the scan lines are intact. You can get a little bit closer to the screen to try to get like to the edge. So as you can see all the scan lines, authentic 240p vibes, but then also PC games running in 2048 by 1536, real beyond 1440p high definition. And we'll kind of just show off the consoles a little bit. So come down here. So I have a Famicom. This is basically a Japanese version of the of the NES Junior. We have a Sega CDX. This was actually my first console, childhood console. Over here we have a Super Nintendo one chip version, so super clean RGB out. Here we have a Sega Saturn. Here we have the PlayStation 1. Here we have a Nintendo 64. This has been RGB modded just like the Famicom had to be. Down here we have a Sega Dreamcast, a very underrated console. Have my PlayStation 2, original Xbox, Gamecube, Nintendo Wii, and DVD player. So all of these systems have been modified so that they all play backups. Everything has ODEs or flash carts. So these games on the shelves, these are honestly really just for show now, because pretty much all these games have been all these game consoles have been modified to have the full game library on them. So talk a little bit more about the setup as well. Actually, yeah, let's go to the back wall. I was trying to really set the tone, and I was always into cars as a kid, and so I was trying to get period correct cars for the room, and so always loved American sports cars. So we got the Dodge RT10, repping that mid 90s vibes for the PS1, Sega Saturn, Sega CDX, N64 era, and then we have the Corvette C5. 2002 model year, going right with the Xbox, the PS2, the GameCube, the Dreamcast. So kind of just helps set the tone a little bit. Another really underrated thing that I make sure to get for this game room, blackout curtains. CRT TVs especially, plasma TVs, which you'll see in a minute. Way better contrast and performance in a dark room. So being able to control your lighting is huge. It's huge for that great experience. Another thing is having a carpet. Also just makes the room a lot more comfortable, and it just kind of fits the vibe of the room. And for seating, I went with these beanbag chairs because they're light. You can put them out of the way to declutter the room when you're not in it, and you can adjust the position, right? So if I'm gaming on my plasma or one of the CRTs, I don't have to have multiple chairs in multiple positions. I can just pick up the beanbag and game. So that makes it really easy. So go over here to the HD corner. So just like I had the Charger and Corvette posters over there, this is really focused on my PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. I have a WiiU down there. So I have a 4GT poster here, mid to late 2000s American supercar. So again, kind of just goes right with the era. So for the TV, I actually went through a lot of models here. I used to have a Sony HD CRT, a KD34 XS955 superfine pitch. But there's a lot of issues with those. They take up a lot of room, convergence, geometry issues. So I decided to go with a plasma, and so this is a Panasonic S60 from the final model year, 2013. It's not the highest end from that year. That would be the ZT60, which I also own, but the S60 has better input lag than any of the higher end plasmas. And the differences, especially in a dark room, are relatively minor. So if you are getting a plasma for gaming, definitely would recommend the S60. You know, if y'all want to see a video on plasma displays or how they compare for gaming or input lag, I'd be happy to do something on that. You know, just leave a comment down below. I have a time sleuth, so I can show y'all how input lag compares. So another difficult component for this was figuring out how I wanted to handle audio. When I used to have an HD CRT TV here, the built-in speakers performed pretty well. And when I swapped out for a plasma, that was like the first thing I noticed was missing. But the issue is, you know, while I have these tower speakers here, with the TV in a separate location, I really didn't want to clutter the room with several tower speaker setups. So I went with this Samsung S90D all-in-one soundbar. Pretty good sound quality, definitely sounds better than the built-in speakers even on the HD CRT. And certainly good enough for a secondary gaming setup. Again, I'm mainly gaming on the CRTs. So down here, you'll see you got a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. Both of these have been modded, running Hen on the PS3, and this is a RGH modded on the Xbox 360. I have a WiiU down here, and then everything is controlled with this Extron HDMI switch. These Extron gear is commercial grade gear, but anything that is older, super cheap on eBay, because no one wants 1080p stuff anymore. So definitely recommend taking a look at Extron or Kramer or other industrial gear if you need switches. And just some other layout things. You know, I have some DVDs, manga on the shelf here, a lot of Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, etc. Fits really well in the room because a lot of this anime is shot or was made in 4x3. So having the 4x3 displays to play it on just really adds to that vibe. You know, I love having some Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon on one screen, gaming on another. Just really sets the tone. I have these 3D printed stands over here to hold all my controllers. So these are like all my Player 1 controllers. And then my second controllers for like a Player 2, if friends come over, I have these black bins here. So these can go out of the way. Then kind of last aspect I wanted to touch on was I wanted to figure out how I was going to get, how I was going to fit in the gaming PC into this room. And so what I ended up going with was I have this lap desk. And so it makes it really easy. You can game on a console and PC basically from the same seating position. You know, you just put the lap desk on, you pull out the keyboard and mouse, and it's literally like just like you're using a controller. You can be gaming from the same position. Hit the switch to console gaming. You know, put your 480p, Xbox or Dreamcast games on here. Put your 240p games on the other screen. It's really versatile setup that I was trying to do with the least clutter as possible. So that's the room. If y'all have any questions or comments, any other content you'd like to see, any videos on any specific pieces of equipment, maybe how to do a certain mod, how to pick out the right TV, how to, what my favorite games are, I'd be happy to answer those. Just leave a comment down below. And thanks, guys. I'm out.